Hello and welcome. Tom Benty Media, great guest, Gregory James Rhem. Greg and I produced my first feature film, our first feature film. We started that journey 10 years ago. I couldn't have done it without Greg. Greg couldn't have done it without me. And we met in the fall of 2008 in the new school in Michelle Matera's visual storytelling class, and we had a little project that we're working on there. And I knew I wanted to bring Greg on board for At the Jersey Shore. And he has been working at HBO, director of documentary programming.
I've been for 24 years now.
For 24 years. And in April in 2019, just a month from now, he's going to transition into a new role. He has a cool film that he's looking to get produced and to direct, and he's going to talk about that. And just a little tidbit about Greg. He was named after Gregory Peck, because his father was a huge cinephile and a huge fan of To Kill a Mockingbird. So right from the start, Greg always had it in him that he was not only going to be a good, decent human being, but also someone who is very much into the arts and to creating. So welcome, Greg. Thanks for making it out here.
Yes, I have film in my soul from early on. Now this is great. And by the way, this is cool. We've been in communication all these years, but it's 10 years.
10 years. 10 years burning down the road, man.
I have to tell you, if I thought way back when that it was going to take this long to get involved with film at this professional level, I don't know if I would have committed to it. But then again, this is what it takes.
This is what it takes. It's a lifelong,
right?
It's a lifelong journey.
The 95% of us are probably the ones that are this long haul. The 5% of the ones you read about in the papers and on television. That's not the realistic path.
It's true.
It's
true.
And this is what makes us strong and the best filmmakers, I think, in the end. No, I've always loved film. I've always loved television. Although I've worked in documentary films for this past 24 years, my passion has always been with narrative, scripted stuff. And way back when, I wanted to be a scientist as a kid. They landed on the moon July 50 years ago. And I saw them land on the moon. And I watched Jacques Cousteau, so I studied science for a long time. But also I loved film and television. And even with my parents' separation, the saving graces of my mother loved to watch Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And my father loved movies, as a testament to my name with Gregory Peck. So every other weekend, besides watching television intensely as my babysitter, my father and I would go to the movies. And last year we've been the 50th anniversary for Planet of the Apes in 2001: A Space Odyssey. My passion for science led to my passion for science fiction, fed by science fiction films and television, and that made me want to write and create more of that content. And I've been doing that since I was a kid. Back when in '83, when I went to University of Rochester, I transitioned from science, much to my parents' chagrin, to film and English, and I started writing scripts and started making little films back then, and that led to all of this. Over the years, I worked for a lot of low-budget film production companies. I also worked at some bigger places. I was in the story department as an intern at Columbia Pictures back in '86. Around the time of Stand By Me and those type of things, and later on I worked for Trauma as a grip and electric.
And they did Swamp Thing?
They did Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger, yeah.
And I still actually met Lloyd Kaufman recently, past a couple of years, because he was an executive producer on a documentary that I worked on.
Cool.
And my first gig in independent cinema in the trenches was in a film called Deadly Obsession, produced by a guy named Anand Singh, who also executive produced one of our documentaries at HBO later on. So it was cool that I got to reconnect with that.
Cool.
But a lot of my basis was from independent cinema, and I learned a lot, and I'm sure that's meant a lot to working on At the Jersey Shore with you. So I knew how to produce an independent film. And even when I got to HBO, I think it was benefit. While I hadn't longed originally to work in documentaries, when I told my then president, Sheldon Evans, that when she countered that, oh, you're the horror film guy, why am I hiring you in documentaries? I said, well, trying to be a typical film person, thinking fast on my feet, I said, well, I know stories and character.
And it's all related.
That's everything.
Yeah,
that's everywhere. I said I studied stories and character both in film studies, but also on all those horror film sets and such, and I can lend that to the nonfiction side of things. And the good thing for me having been not the mailroom watch, which is still a great job. If I had gotten that HBO, I would have definitely done that. To no extent, I would have killed that. But having been in programming, I got to be a part of learning a new form of storytelling, especially since documentaries are sort of still in their fledgling state back in '95. And I've gleaned so much over the 2 decades plus in terms of storytelling, both in fiction and nonfiction, from working on productions like yours. And I produced and directed a narrative short film for my friend Cheryl Guerrera, who also was from New Line Cinema back in the day. That film went on to go to the Austin Film Festival and came in as a runner-up back in '98. I learned from that stuff, and anyway, moving forward, as much as I love what I've been doing for HBO these years, helping to find Oscar-winning films and so on, I'm hoping to take all that I've gathered over those decades and apply it more into the realm of fiction and scripting, and hopefully come up with stronger characters and stories because of it. So the most recent project I've put together, I thankfully, because of my paycheck from HBO, I was able to option a book back in 2016, The Dinosaur Four, written by an author named Jeff Jones out of Denver, Colorado.
And can you tell us what that process was? Like, how did you option this?
Yeah.
Like, how did it all come about?
Well, luckily, again, from having been in the business for a while, I knew the basic process of that. Okay, I have to do my research. Something I learned from my grad classes at New School.
Yeah.
That you think you're the only one doing this. You're the only one that these things are just ready for you. Yet there are tons of people out doing this stuff, and who knows who might have the rights for these things. So when I had done a road trip with my wife's son, heading North Carolina, we listened to audiobooks through Audible, and they had suggested The Martian before that, and we heard about this other novel through them called The Dinosaur Four. I listened to it on the road. My son said, that should be a movie. He was then 13. I said, that's nice, but try to be realistic. I don't have the rights for that.
Yeah.
And who knows, with Hollywood, they may have scooped up their options, whether or not they did anything with it or not. So, like as they did with The Martian. So I said, let me reach out. So I happened to be at a film festival at the time, working for HBO, and during my break, I had sent a note. I'd done research online and found that no one had this book. So I sent an email. I'm trying to get my Facebook game, but back then, as part of that skill building, I sent an email through Facebook to the author and said, hey, I'd love to talk about, optioning your book, because I know that somebody might scoop this up soon, this science fiction thriller. And he got back to me. We spent 2 hours on the phone as I'm walking around Miami streets before my next event for the festival. And next thing that snowballed into, okay, I have to get a lawyer.
So what was that conversation like when he called you for the first time?
It was I was a little nervous, but I was trying not to show that. Especially, thankfully, it wasn't on video. So I kept my composure and said,
What were the questions he was asking?
He says, well, how'd you hear about it? I said, well, I listened to it on Audible. I loved it. I thought you did a fantastic job. This reminded me of Jurassic Park. It's basically a time travel story.
Okay.
10 people, modern day Denver, strangers going to a cafe downtown Denver right before the rush hour and all the business hours. Suddenly there's a ticking sound, a pop, glass shatters. It's dark outside. It's dark inside. Is that smoke? Was that a terrorist attack? As the lights come up, it's dawn. But it was just daytime a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Lights come up, the sun comes up. It's not downtown Denver anymore. There's no streets. It's a river. There's no rivers in Denver. Wait, those are dinosaurs. So the entire cafe and part of the building above has been transported something back 67 million years to prehistoric Denver. Now 10 complete strangers have to try to cope with each other, try not to kill each other, not be killed by not only the carnivores, but even the prehistoric equivalent of a hippopotamus or an elephant, which are equally as dangerous.
Cool.
And they find out they have 15 hours to figure out how to get back home before that's it.
Cool.
So I said, this is a great story.
Yeah.
Jeff, this is so good. This is like Jurassic Park, which R-rated in the book. I know PG-13, Spielberg did a fantastic job with the first movie, wonderful, but I was missing the meat and potatoes, or the meat from the R-rated book. And he said, that's what I wrote. When I was writing that book, I said, this was missing from Jurassic Park. His first novel. I said, I want to make this my first feature film. I've been in business for a while. I've done this for a while, the fiction, the nonfiction side of this, but my roots are in fiction, and I'd like to break out into directing features. Could this be a dialogue that we have? And from that point, I guess he said over the years that it completely sold him. Something about my passion, and look, it didn't hurt the fact that I'd professionally been working at a big corporation for many years and helped find Oscar-winning material and so on. But again, what's to prove that I can do that with fiction? Yeah, I've crossed the other side. Can I come back? And I never formed an LLC. My legal friends at the office said, well, we can't handle this, contractually, we can't do this, but you should seek out a lawyer. I went on the internet and I said, wait, I was on a panel with a lawyer. New York Film and Greg Rhem. Oh, there's my panel. There's my picture, because the internet's forever.
Yeah.
And there's the lawyer. There's Fernando Ramirez. Oh, wow, damn, I remember him. Contact, hey, Greg, what's up? Nothing. Listen, how docs? Okay, beyond docs. Love him, but I'm working on this feature film, The Dinosaur Four. I need a lawyer to help draw up create an LLC to help option his book. Cool. Here's my rate. Boom. We're friends and stuff, but it's still business. I'm cool with that, because then it makes it more business-like.
Yeah.
And formed the LLC, which I've never done before. So it's Highbridge Dreams LLC. Highbridge is my old neighborhood in the Bronx.
Nice.
I grew up in the projects.
Nice.
Poor black boy from the Bronx, near Harlem River, just north of Yankee Stadium. And I said, okay, Highbridge Dreams. I drew up an illustration of my own with a picture of the High Bridge connecting the Bronx to Harlem, and wrote up the details for it. We fill out the form. We contacted Jeff's lawyer, and after a little bit of negotiation, November of 2016, I had the option.
And so the option basically means that you have the rights to make this into a feature film. And was there a time limit on it?
Yeah, because I'd done something similar to this with a late author named Harlan Ellison, who created one of the most popular Outer Limit episodes back when in the 60s, and one of the most popular Star Trek episodes. That was an option for a story, and that lasted for like 18 months. It was a little complex. It was a little complex situation, but
You got the basics.
Right, I learned the basics for that. I said, okay, well, I know that I won't get the full rights for this. This just gives me a chance to play with it, because you can't play with it at all, realistically, in the rest of the world without an option. So for this set fee, I had the whole thing for 6 months, and with all the legal.
Just 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the legalese. Well, I said, oh, can I get a little longer? And I managed to. Apologize. I managed to get a little beyond it. So I got a whole. I think it was. And my memory's slipping because I'm old. It turned out to be about a total of 12 months, but with a chance to do 2 6-month extensions for a slightly less fee for each time. So I said, okay, well, it's still a lot to do.
So for the option, the first step, you get the LLC.
Yeah.
So first step, number one, he wants to call to make sure you're serious about this,
Right.
to see who you are, your credibility,
Right.
and he was really impressed with your background.
Yes.
So that was the first step. The second step is you had to make an LLC and
Right.
make it more legitimate
Sure.
and professional. And then you create this optioning agreement, and there's a fee involved in the optioning agreement. And that with that fee, you are able to have the exclusive rights to this particular story for a term of either 6 months or 12 months.
Right.
And what happened during that time?
So, and well, Fernando, my lawyer, said, well, we need at least the 12 months, because you got to hire, you have to get the stuff together, you have to hire a lawyer, you have to hire a screenwriter, and because it's a 300-something page book. And I said, well, I'm going to write it.
Good. Now, you've written some?
I've written scripts before. I've written feature scripts before. I've written short films before. But he says, no offense, you're going to write it? I mean, I know you can do a lot of things, but it's a lot to do in a short period of time. And, they know, they have to understand on the other end that if you were hiring a writer, a professional writer, it would take time. But you as a new writer of sorts, it's going to maybe even take more time. I said, cool, I'm cool with that, but I need that time. So what I had done, it's funny, I told Jeff this story when we were at a horror film convention last year.
And Jeff is
Jeff Jones, the author.
The author.
During our interview like this, I said, oh, well, In preparation to our signing, I took the book, I printed it out, I scanned it. I took the scanning because I had it set so that all the words were recognizable by software, and I went into Final Cut, Final Draft, which is the software I use for screenwriting, and I cut and pasted the entire script, the entire book into the script format, and I start reformatting it. He says, "Why did you do all that? You could just ask me for it," because I didn't have the rights for it then.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to get ready and see if it kind of worked as a script, because it's a big book. There's a lot of exposition and so on, thoughts. It's not actually all action and dialogue. So leading up to November when I signed, I had already had. I told him later on, I had sheepishly saying I already had a version of the script, really raw, available.
Okay.
So, but from that point on, I needed a time to start refining that and seeing what made sense. And like absorbing from people like you the confidence it takes to say, "Oh, I can do this." I know I'm not getting paid to be a writer, and no one recognizes it with awards and such, and no one's made my films on a big scale. But I think I can write the screenplay. Oh no, sorry, I know I can write the screenplay.
Yeah.
So it's sitting down for the first couple of months, and then now that I had the full rights, and I have confidence in the fact that I brought him in and convinced him I could do this and signed. Now I have a deadline, right? I know I only have so much time. I have 12 months to do something with this thing. So I wrote and rewrote and reached out to friends who are screenwriters. Some of them are WGA folks, and got notes and listened to a lot of good stuff and a lot of crap, And then I started reaching out through national writing competitions. I thought, okay, I know I have professional friends who will tell me good things, but I need some outside folks who might be potential money or might be potential gatekeepers, like I have been for HBO, but for the fiction side. So I reached out first with a 230-something page script to a couple of competitions. Of course, it was too long for one or two of them, and they turned it down. But I got notes. So I'm being open to the universe, but also to the creative universe. And I took those notes and learned from them. And my friend Pat Lomax, who's a co-worker at HBO, is also a screenwriter. A lot of creative folks there. She helped me dial that down. We were on breaks from another film festival. And during our breakfast breaks, we helped cut it down more. Yeah. Then Jeff, the author who hadn't revisited the book in years, when it got released through Amazon in 2014, it's got like 40,000 sales over these past number of years. But he hadn't revisited in years. So he read it. And through his, newfound editing sense, he helped pare it down to cut out what he thought was maybe some fat.
Now, was that part of the agreement that he had to be? No. Okay.
But I think he hadn't revisited. He's working on a new set of books. But between that and daddy duty and husband duty and such, he had a little bit of a window here and there.
And you wanted his feedback?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Because, I tried that originally with Harlan, the original author. I'd worked on his project. But it's hard. The distance and, age differences, a whole bunch of things. Here, I think Jeff and I were closer in terms of passion, age, the number of factors in there.
And creatively, it seemed like you were on the same page.
Right. And again, having learned my lesson from and licked my wounds from all the past experiences when it came to working with others and so on, I said, oh, this is what I need. And let me be open. And even more so with the person who created this. Because how many times have you heard, I'm sure you've known this as well, oh, they're making a film version of that book or that property. And you see the film version, oh my God, it's nothing like the book. In fact, it's worse than the book.
It's usually
the book
worse.
is great. This sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, is that because they lost the focus from the book? It gets so distilled that there's nothing left. So I said, well, let me talk to the author and get his input. And I think he was very happy to have that input, especially in a different medium. He hadn't worked in this stuff before.
Because that's not part of the agreement, but you wanted to bring him on to make sure that the story was in regards to his vision.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because, whatever made us impassioned, my wife, son, and I, on that road trip over 10 hours, you want to get that same stuff on screen. Whatever drew me in, out of those 40,000 readers who read the book, let's say if 85% of them loved the book, and even the other 15, my math is off, sorry, if the other 15 were intrigued by it, what intrigued them? This. Well, let's keep that essence. Let's make sure that gets to the screen. Obviously, a script is not a book. And it's a long way to go between those words on the page, that dialogue, no descriptions, and an actor hitting a mark.
Yeah.
And special effects folks realizing something that looks visually compelling, that is suspension of disbelief is all there, and then ultimately people are crying or yelling.
So, after you worked on the script,
Yeah.
you have the final script, or it's never really final. It's always a fluid process, as we all know. But there's different options that you can take from your standpoint as the producer. Is one, you can just sell it and make a profit as a screenwriter.
Right.
Two, you can make it for a very big budget, and you would be the writer, director, and producer.
Yeah, if I did that.
Ideally,
Right.
ideally. And then the third would be to make it for a much cheaper cost.
Yeah.
And here, because of the technology we have, it would be difficult because you have time travel, you have dinosaurs, you have special effects, you have blood and gore, but you can make it for much less money, and you could have more control because of that. And as you were talking about just before, because of all the distribution outlets we have, Vimeo, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, etc., stuff like that looks good, that's acted well, that's directed well, that has good dialogue, even though if the special effects aren't out of Avatar or out of one of these huge big Hollywood blockbusters, there's still potentially an audience for it. So I guess tell us about those different options, and where do you see this project fitting in those regards?
Well, because of the year of screenwriting and putting the script out in the world, the Dinosaur Four out in the world, in terms of as a script, I got in a couple of national competitions, and a few of them I came in as finalist, especially the ones that were specific to my genre. So there's one, Horror 13, it's been a while since I looked at horror13.com. I became in as a finalist, and as a finalist, one of my prizes was to be featured on the script market. So Sell My Script was a page through which you can sell your script, the script market.
That's the name of the contest, Sell My
Yeah,
Script?
I mean, I have to look again. I can always confirm for you.
Okay.
Include it down here in the lower notes. But for Horror 13, I got the prize. Sell My Script says, by the way, you don't have to pay for this. We'll post your script. We'll send it out to our mailing list. Cool. Amongst a lot of no unsolicited. Oh, hey, we can manage you for a chunk of money as a writer or something. Oh, comes this one guy who is a Hollywood producer, says, hey, this is a good idea. This is a good script. He calls me on my phone directly. We talk. So there's this possibility of it's not what I was looking for directly, but selling the script and maybe getting a producer credit on a big, $50 million, $100 million production might be kind of cool, right? With names and such, gets distribution. Of course, the bad part is I'm looking to, after nearly 25 years at HBO, I'm looking to break out into being
a director,
producer, director, where I have more control over the content. And at $50 to $100 million as a newbie, I'm not getting. Once in a while, you hear those stories, those Cinderella stories. That's not the norm. That that is not the norm. Even when you can prove that you can do what you do, and you've already been directing and writing for a number of years. So I didn't discourage him, but I said, just to be honest. He shopped around for 4 months, didn't get any bites from the big platforms, but his thing was, keep working at it. So I know the high end. I know the big studios say, we already had Jurassic World and so on. Do we need you? Low end, I know even well too from all my years' experience back when, and from working on that at the Jersey Shore with you. I can produce this. Take out the Jersey Shore and then throw in a time travel element, throw in some special effects, but keep the same level of writing, same level of acting. The reason why Jurassic Park worked so well back in '93, not only because of special effects from ILM and Stan Winston, but because Jeff Goldblum's a damn good actor, Sam Neill and Laura Dern are good actors. If you didn't have that and Spielberg's direction, you wouldn't have a good movie anyway, right? So I'm thinking, I can do a low budget version of this. Because it'd be nice to sell. That'd be the easy way right now. Easy. To have a good script, both high and low end say it's a good script, or it's a fun, viable script. It's still not the only thing anyway. It's not a book. It needs to be created into a film, right? Transformed to a film, but it's not you. We'll take it from you for a couple $100,000. You get a credit, move on. Not as satisfying, especially since they already turned me down at least once. Why don't I go back to the original plan, the low-end plan, my roots, and figure out a way to make this on the low end. And as you mentioned, I know, and you know from now, that from back in the days when I made my short film back in '98 for $32,000 for 30 minutes.
On 35 millimeter.
Super 16.
Oh, Super 16.
Blew it up to 30, but blew it up to 35 millimeter. You know, you're doing color corrections with real film.
Yeah.
You know, and we're outputting a real. I still have the print in one of my rooms in my house. You know, in a big metal can. I love that. I love celluloid, but we would not have been able to make Jersey Shore at the Jersey Shore if we had to shoot 16 millimeter film. If we had to shoot 35, we'd never do it. Short ends and stuff. No.
Yeah.
Now we have technology where, you know, Spike and Mike, Urban Mouse said, hey, we've got a red, and this is 2009
This
red.
was just when it came out.
This stuff now is crazy good.
Yeah.
Between that, Alexa, and all the others, and
8K.
right? Come on,
8K.
we could have shot all these wonderful wide shots, and then dialed in and had a close up of someone's eye, and it would have been perfect.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sound is perfect now.
That's still always an issue, but
Still an issue, right.
if you have I have a really great sound person.
Right, you still have to have.
You have to have somebody that knows what
all
they're
this
doing.
to say, you can, you know, back in the day when I used to type scripts in high school and college, I was working on my Corona, Smith Corona manual typewriter or my electric typewriter, and had to go back and correct with a pencil when my corrector type ran out. Now it's all, you know, it's virtually, right, on your, in Final Draft on your computer. Same thing with with filming. You can shoot anything you want to.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to shoot, just like if you don't know how to write,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. If you don't know how to have someone who knows how to record sound or mix sound properly or write a score, it doesn't matter. If you don't have someone who can act, Shakespeare's around for hundreds of years, right? Great words. If you don't, there's crappy production of Shakespeare and there's gorgeous production of Shakespeare. Same thing here. I think, okay, I can make this happen, even on low end. And the great thing about this is, not to say I want to definitely pull it off for, you know, $100,000. Then I'm putting myself through a world of torture. But if I can pull this off for $1 million and a half, maybe if I get lucky, because over the years I've met celebrity name talent through my job at HBO, I've known people of note that are marketable names, not just some obscure name. A marketable name, maybe that marketable name can draw in some other marketable names, and maybe not on their own, but as 5 to 10 of them, as an ensemble, they have marketing value. So that's there. Or even if I just get one of them to add to my unknown cast. And now SAG, Indie, SAG, and AFTRA and so on, they've made it so that we independent filmmakers don't have to suffer as much. You know, we're not going to rip them off, but we need that talent. And yet we make sure that you're covered. So being SAG Indie, being SAG AFTRA, you're covered. You're not going to be completely, exploited.
Yeah.
But you give us a break. I have that. So I can find great talent. I can find great talent in front and behind the camera. And I can do it all, I think, for less than $2 million. And the great thing about that is that the chances of making that money back, or at least breaking even, are much greater.
Much greater.
Because even you can look at Box Office Mojo, you'll have the ones that report what they spent. And even though there's always fudging there as to how much they spent, it doesn't look better if it's low budget.
Typical Hollywood account.
Right.
Yeah.
But that said, even if it is only a $30 million movie, and it has a couple names in it, it may still not be making any money.
Yeah.
You have to make money in the long run through after the theatrical.
International.
Right, international.
VOD.
VOD and so on. You know, and if you're not lucky enough to be the one on the main iTunes page, you know, no offense to us, we weren't lucky enough to be one of the 13 on the main page. You have to go into in drama to find it. And if you don't have, we didn't have this kind of social media we have now, where we're going to have tons of people buzzing about that, right, from day one. But we did get lucky enough to get into 5 film festivals, and in 2 of them, big film festivals, like Montclair Film Festival and Sonoma, which are now they're prominent film festivals. Imagine now, with a science fiction thriller, I've got 40,000 people who bought the book. At least 30,000 of them love Jeff's writing. And now, because of the connection with the author and his stamp of approval, the script has that same writing, those same characters you like, that same scenario. And because of my good sense of professional independent filmmaking and the professionals I can draw in, we now have good actors, maybe great actors, reading really good, if not great, writing on occasion. I'm hoping it's great. We have a solid cinematographer. We don't have to worry about whether or not it looks good, and have to wonder if the reel of that cinematographer is solid enough so that it translates from 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter to eventual digital realm. No, I can see it on the monitor. I know what they got. I know it works. So it's WYSIWYG. Right? It's what you see is what you get, and it's professional level.
Yeah.
We have a good sound person. You know, we have a great editor. We have a great effects person, visual effects and so on, gore effects, and so on, or animatronics. There are people out there. What I've learned from the joys of the YouTube and Vimeo and the internet is this: you feel that you're not alone. I mean, I sort of knew that in a way from working with documentary filmmakers, most of them independent I've worked with through HBO. Over the decades, we've given out more than our share of golden tickets to unknown filmmakers, and they've some have grown to greatness, Oscar nominations or wins and Emmys and so on, at least a better home with us. But I've learned from that, even for fiction, that there are people creating content all over the place, and that now there are homes for this stuff, as we mentioned, everywhere. So the chances of finding fans and finding a home are that much better. If you get 40,000 views on YouTube, or if you get 40,000 subscribers, oh yeah, it's not 500,000 of some other websites, but 40,000 is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
And if each of those people bought a ticket for $10 or rented it online through VOD for $5.99 or something, and they knew to talk to others, now your chances are better. If I got into a local film festival, and because I'm a Jersey, I'm a New Yorker at heart, but I'm a Bronx boy, Bronx all the way, man. But I'm also a Jersey person, so they know, hey, let's have a Jersey filmmaker.
Yeah.
But then maybe if I'm at Montclair Film Fest, I keep calling it university. By the way, I'd love to work with the Montclair State University if I need to. But anyway, on the other side, if I'm in Tribeca, if I'm in Montclair, if I get into those, which are the more mainstream film festivals, and I'm a midnighter at South by Southwest, I just came back from there after my 20th year of going down there. If that's cool, but if also I get into Fantastic Fest, if I get into a couple of genre festivals, and the fans eat it up and talk about it, okay, if I don't get a distribution deal, it's sad, it'd be nice to get that, but if it doesn't get that,
There's other ways.
right, and if I'm not worrying about making $50 million, okay, it's still hard to make $1 million as well, but maybe your chances are better to make $1 million.
And also, you're just thinking about the next one. You're
Right.
thinking about how this can brand myself as a great director, a great
Exactly.
writer, to show other people, hey, look at what I did with this.
Sure.
Even not from an even financial standpoint, but the name recognition
Sure.
is so important. So I guess where does it stand right now? So we went through the optioning process.
Yes.
We went through the writing process. We went through the process of the different options that are out there,
Yeah.
either big budget, smaller budget, or independent
Yeah.
distribution.
Yeah.
So where do you stand right now with the project? And I'm sorry, what is the name of
The Dinosaur Four,
the Dinosaur Four,
Yes.
and by
Jeff Jones.
Jeff Jones
And Greg Rhem.
And Greg Rhem. The script
Yes.
is by Jeff Jones and Greg Rhem. I'm sorry, is the script just by you, or is it?
It's by me, but because I'm a weird, nice guy.
Okay. Which is an anomaly.
It's
in
such a
today's
weird
day
thing.
and age.
And maybe it's not. Don't be good. Maybe it's not good. I'm good, but maybe you don't need to be good. Maybe you need to cut some throats or something. I don't know. Maybe or nicely cut the throats. Hey, I don't apologize. I love you. No, but I thought.
Okay, so we went through the process of optioning the script,
Right.
of writing the script, working with the author, working with your other professional friends, and now there's the different options that we just talked about. Big budget option, which is obviously
Sure.
an ideal situation. Lower budget option, which is potential, even though this is a story about time travel and
Yeah.
about dinosaurs, and independent distribution,
Right.
or potentially just selling the project and making a profit.
Right.
So as of right now, where does this stand? Where does this project stand? It's called the Dinosaur Four by Jeff Jones and Greg Rhem.
Yeah, script by Greg
So
Rhem.
the story's by Jeff Jones, the script is by Greg Rhem, and because you're such a nice,
I'm a nice guy,
good-hearted person.
crazy nice guy. I gave Jeff credit as well.
Okay.
I'm the screenwriter, but then I say and Jeff Jones and story by Jeff Jones because I thought, I'm not Writers Guild. I don't have to do that. But I thought, well, if I transform the script dramatically, I mean, if it was totally different from the book, which would be a detriment, I think, or transformed enough where enough of the dialogue is very different from what's in the book, or enough scenes are dramatically different. I'd say, okay, if I'm doing 50% change, I may just take all credit. But I thought I did adapt a lot of what he did, which I thought was warranted. I think the material was fine. Take out some of the inner thought stuff, take out some of the exposition, a couple of scenes, but for the most part, I thought beginning to end, it played like straight up, cinematic narrative.
Yeah.
So to not give him credit for that, plus if he's trying to branch out to a new realm as well, why not give him props?
Yeah, it makes sense from a creative standpoint,
Yeah.
like we were just talking about. But also, he has his own fan base. He has
Sure.
a lot of people that are big fans of this
Yeah.
book, and you want to bring that on
Right.
board to your project, so it makes sense from a business standpoint as well.
That's the only reason I did. Right. What you said is right. No. Right. If you got 30 to 40,000 potential fans that been following your read the book and have been following your exploits on your page, why lose them? And maybe you, like you said, you guarantee them even more so if they realize that, oh, he's a part of this. He's really been an active part of the creative part. So cool. Let's go that way. So yeah, the script's written. It's been vetted to a certain extent, and I've gained a lot of knowledge from that vetting. So I know for the most part it works for 90-something% of the way. And now it has to be, of course, realized. I think this next phase, because it's starting next month, I've left HBO and I'll be committed completely to be Greg Rhem of Highbridge Dreams, LLC, and the writer, producer, director of the Dinosaur Four. All right, for the first month, I'm going to, I'm thinking about the low-end route. Special effects are complex, whether you're doing them on your own or you're hiring, some big company to do them. And it helps, as you know, from even with drama, pre-production and development and pre-production are a big part. And you save yourself so much headache. Even if you think about commercials, even if you're doing a toothpaste commercial with no elaborate effects, to plan it out, have the script, to do storyboards, to get those approved by the client, and then have those approved by your crew, your creative crew, makes a big difference. You get on that set, you're not wasting time, you're not wasting money. And then when you come back to the edit phase, you had the material to work with, because you had the coverage, you have what you need for dialogue, action, special effects, and so on, right? Sound. So coming this next month, that's what I'm doing. I had already taken the audiobook and broken it down. I already had a table read back in 2017, but that was the whole 5-hour version of the thing. It was a mini-series version of this, which was an option. If Netflix had said yes, or still say yes. So I'm taking all that audio, and I'm breaking that up into individual elements. So I have Final Cut. I have a thing called, sorry if I'm trying to remember it. I have something called Table Read Pro.
But what are you doing with the audio?
What I'm doing with that is I'm making WAV files, and that's my pronunciation of WAV.
Okay.
Maybe it's something WAV, but I've created WAV files for all of the lines from the movie, from the dialogue.
Okay.
And I have another software called iClone that I use, which is an animation software. And you have very photorealistic animation avatars. You can either download them, you buy avatars. I want a cop. I want a delivery person. It's a delivery character. He's a main character, 1 out of 10. Delivery guy. I'm going to make him 6'3" black guy. Done. I make him handsome. He looks like Idris Elba or something. Done. I can either buy that from a website, from iClones or Reallusion, or I can make it. So I have another software called Character Creator. I went through last year and I made 10 avatars for all the characters in the story. And I based them on the actors that I used for the table read. Okay. So I mapped their faces onto digital avatars, three-dimensional avatars, put costumes on them. Now I do is I take all those WAV files that I have broken down from the table read and or from the audio files, the audiobook. I attach those to the avatars. And the software automatically syncs up the dialogue to the avatars.
Okay.
And I have, for my storyboards, I've done some rough thumbnail sketches for storyboards for the show, the film. For, let's say, certain sequences, so I don't exhaust myself, I take the special effects late in sequence, a scene, a 3-minute scene, and I lay out the characters. I have environments. So I have a building that I built in the computer. It's all rough. This is not perfect, ready to go to screen. And I have a virtual background for a prehistoric forest.
Okay.
I have dinosaurs. I actually spent a nice chunk of money on It was during Black Friday sale last year, so I bought a T-Rex
Okay.
from another website called Turbo Squid,
Okay.
and this one's beautiful. Like, it goes straight to the movies. That's how good it is.
So you're creating a visual storyboard.
I'm what are called animatics.
Animatics.
And normally animatics, like I've looked at websites for Third Floor and some other companies that do them for, did them for the Avengers and World War Z and such. There's a sequence online on Vimeo for one of the, I think it's Proof or Third Floor, one of the for the pre-viz companies, from the pitch viz for World War Z, and they're digital game type characters, but it's gorgeous. It's a sequence where they escape from the apartment building to go up the roof to get rescued by the helicopter, Brad Pitt and so on, the family. That sequence, even as digital characters with the music, sound effects, was so crazy. And that's inspirational for me, saying, I can do that with this, sequences like that. Problem is, a sequence like that is only about 2 minutes long, costs $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 at the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Performance capture, where you put on a suit and you're in a volume and you move around with fake props and digital props and so on. The making the digital backgrounds and props, even at a low end, not ready for a big screen, that could cost you $50,000 to $100,000 more. I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So if I had to do it on my own, it's like that eternal triangle. It's fast, cheap, good. Pick two. So I don't get it fast, but I get it good. Means it's cheap, but I have to do it myself.
So these animatics are used for yourself if you do decide to go with a lower budget version, so you have a very specific idea of exactly how you're going to film this.
Right.
And you can pitch this to bigger companies too, to show them that this is, if we were to do this, this is how we can do it on a big budget level as well.
I mean, you probably did this as well. I know I did it when I was working with you on your film, and I did it on my shorts. You look at the other stuff, and you'd be foolish not to realize there's other things out there like yours, and from which you can learn. And now you can go on YouTube and watch a whole movie, or you watch behind the scenes, you get the Blu-ray or DVD, whatever. So from what I've learned over the years is that, let's look at the EPK stuff, let's look at the behind the scenes stuff for whatever movie, be it a drama or Lord of the Rings or something. What do they include? Well, they have, we did storyboards, or we did this, and so on. If I can do that, all the elements, first it helps me, like you just said, if I end up going completely low budget, under $2 million, I've got those things. I'm ready. Second, though, if someone comes along like that producer from Hollywood again and says, I heard about you through Tom Benty's podcast or through some other means, they say, but I don't trust you as I want to buy the script and you'll get credit as a screenwriter and maybe producer's credit. Thank you, but by the way, I know you think I'm the documentary guy, but here's all the stuff that normally a big Hollywood movie would have. Here's storyboards, here's animatics. I've done all the tests for the special effects, visual effects stuff. So in other words, I know, here's proof that I know some of this stuff. Here's a script that you liked, and here's the other stuff. So yes, just shy of having, an acting moment, a scene for the movie. Oh, wait a minute. And this is part of the plan as well. After I've done those basics, at least for special effects sequences and so on, I plan to do a scene from it. So of course it'd be great to do a short film that's self-contained, beginning, middle, end, that just happens to have acting, special effects, boom. I thought, well, then I have to write a whole nother story and so on. However, imagine if I was on some talk show, and Stephen Colbert or something, and they wanted to show a clip. What clip would I show? Let's pick a scene that's really good, intense, that not only has some action in it, has special effects in it, but also has great acting. So it's a great moment between, let's say, two characters, and then a dinosaur shows up, and it's in a prehistoric setting. But I know it's something that's totally doable, that within, a month, within 3 weeks or something, I can have shot it and sat down over that month or a month plus and edited it together and done sound design on it, added music cues and so on, sound effects, and visual effects. So not only I have a scene from the movie that shows the dialogue and how I direct actors, and that even though those aren't the final actors, I can work with actors, and I obviously know how to find good actors, and with casting agent, I can do that even better. Casting director, I can do that even better. But also I know shot composition. So here's a DP that I've worked with.
Yeah.
Or I can get a DP
Mm-hmm.
because I have a sense of framing and composition, lighting, and so on. Then when it comes to visual effects, which obviously people say, well, it's not a straight up drama, it's a science fiction thriller. How do you prove that you can pull the special effects off? Well, here's a sample of special effects.
Mm.
So obviously it'd be great if I didn't have to do those on my own. Although I know that stuff. I know After Effects, I know Maya and so on. But I'd rather not do this stuff on my own. It'd be great if I could have someone else do those things. But if they're going to charge me a chunk of money, if they're not some breakout YouTube animator that's looking for some, foot in the door, and this is the way, I only have to pay them a little bit of money, okay, if it push comes to shove, I do all that myself on 1 3 to 5 minute sequence, one scene. And that becomes either my development package for myself, that I draw in low-end backers for the film to get to that $1 million plus, or it's now a development package, a pitch package, to present to those same entities who like the script from before, that are in the realm to be able to produce it for 25, 50 plus $1 million. So, oh, you thought I couldn't do this stuff? Well, I've written a script, and obviously from this scene and from these other elements, you know that I know directing actors and I know visual effects.
So it shows exactly what you're capable of on a smaller scale, potentially, if it goes to that bigger scale.
Right.
And also there's less room for miscommunication in terms of the vision of the project.
Right.
So they don't just come in and completely transform the story and the characters.
Or screw things up,
like
right.
that.
I mean, here's a chance to where you look and you can say, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do because I know you know how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a sense of where I'm going with this. Not only do I say, here's a lookbook or here's a reference in another movie, here's what I'm looking for. Roughly in this frame, here's the mise en scène I'm looking for, right? Art director, I'm basically looking for elements like this. If you can put this together with your flair, cool. Again, if it's not a big Hollywood production and it's a low-end production, but there are people like you and me who have great skills but haven't get a break yet, I can say to them, hey, what you're doing, but on YouTube and Vimeo and so on your own side, do for me. And here's your chance to at least have a big showcase, if not a breakout moment. And
It's great. Well, best of luck with the project. Please keep us updated on all the progressions of it.
Yeah, well, next month I'll have the webpage together, and I'll send that to you. And,
Okay, great. Well, Greg, thanks so much for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Tom Benty is a great guy, man. Seriously, this is so cool. I'm inspired by you.
Oh,
seriously.
Thanks. Yeah, just try to. It's all about creating, and now we have the tools, whether it's on even stuff with special effects, like you were just talking about. Programs like After Effects are so powerful, and you can create so much just with your own budget and your own scale and your own vision, and just to show like what you're capable of. You have the tools to do that.
And a school, YouTube, if you can't afford going to a big school or anything like that, which can be a bit of money, you subscribe to YouTube.
And there's just it's a wealth of information, so you have the tools now to take advantage of it. Well, thanks again. Greg Rhem, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Take care.